Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. And today we are starting the new series. It's called Manic, Redrums. And if you saw my post, I am going to be reading The World's Worst Serial Killers. And basically it is a book that it talks about different SKs throughout the many decades. And so I am excited to dive into this book. I kind of skimmed it beforehand, so there are some pictures. So I will show you any pictures that do pop up, and I hope you do enjoy. I'll only be reading, about two, and we are going to be reading about. I'll give you the name so you can at least kind of know if you've heard of them or not. I have not heard of these particular SKs, and they're actually two women, Marie Becker and Amelia Dyer. I am not going to read this entire book because good gosh almighty, y'all will be sick of me. Okay? And that is what we're going to do. First, I've been kind of liking trying the new Olipop flavors. I haven't been fond of all of them. No, this is not a sponsor, y'all. Trust me, it's not. Okay. Because I would be like, oh my god, I love them all. I know. So I came across this one, which is ginger lemon. So I'm gonna try it. Let's see. The one that I did kind of like was the what was it? I think it was a strawberry vanilla or something like that. I was not a fan of the tropical punch. That one was not good at all. Yeah. So we're gonna try this ginger lemon and see how it is. It has a good, you can taste the ginger. The ginger is heavy in there. Okay. Sorry, let me dry my hands. All right, so we are gonna begin. Okay, so these particular, I'm going to say SKs because I'm really not sure how YouTube is if I continue to say the word on the book. So I'm going to say SKs. And these particular ones that we'll be reading about in this section are terrors of the past. And it says, the past had its own share of horrifying individuals willing to commit wanton redrum. Even as authorities scrambled to investigate the crimes and put in place measures to protect citizens, these criminals plied their foul trade in death, often evading detection for years or even decades. These, I'm going to just say it, these killers were just as vicious and terrifying as their modern day counterparts. I'm going to try to just say the actual words, but then I'm going to, what's that word? Use acronyms like SK or Redrum, again, just to avoid possible my video getting taken down or, whatever. So I do apologize for that, but, unfortunately with censors and all of that fun stuff and sensitivity, I don't want my video to get taken down. I really would like, to read this to you guys, to you all, and we learn about SKs that honestly we have not ever heard of. Like I said, I have not ever heard of Marie Becker. So without further ado, which I literally think that means the same thing, let's read about Marie Becker. Liège housewife Marie Alexandrine Becker lived a blameless life until she was 55. Then she began a spree of redrum, theft and forgery. The profits she made from her crimes were squandered on a series of young lovers. Look at her, 55, and over here meddling around with boy toys. Her crimes came to light when an old woman died of acute indigestion. There was nothing immediately suspicious about her death, and a doctor and a nurse were present. However, a complaint had been made on a report that passed across the desk of the police commissioner, Honorer Lebrun, on the 3rd of October, 1935. He was immediately struck by the name of the deceased nurse, Marie Becker. Her name had appeared on 2 other recent reports, of women who had died from acute indigestion. Was this just a coincidence? He set up an investigation. Mrs. Becker had been born Marie Alexandrine Petitjean to a family of poor farm workers in Wilmot in the Flemish-speaking region of Belgium in 1879. An ambitious woman, she wanted more out of life than toiling on a farm. A local priest taught her reading, writing, and arithmetic, and at 16 she left home to take up an apprenticeship in dressmaking in Liège. Lavish gifts on lovers. While still young, she married Charles Becker, who owned a sawmill. Later, he invested in a furniture factory. Marie used her dressmaking skills to copy the latest fashions from Paris, but she craved more. She had a series of young lovers and took up with middle-aged rake Lambert Beyer, who made her acquaintance when she was buying vegetables at a market stall. Her staid and reliable husband stood in the way of this tempestuous romance. But in 1932, he died of acute indigestion. She collected on his life insurance and invested the money in a dress shop, but she soon tired of Beyer, and he died too, leaving her more money. Becker was then seen dancing wildly with men at the local nightclubs, outraging the respectable ladies of Liège. Often she would pay young gigolos to escort her home and take her to bed. Her particular favorite was the handsome Maximilian Hadi. He was 20 years her junior, on whom she lavished expensive gifts, but the business failed and soon she was short of money. Like, ma'am, she's literally doing this to be with young men. Like, crazy work already. First brush with the law. One day in March 1933, she went to the cinema with Marie Dupanier Cassodat. I apologize if I'm slaughtering these names, but they're Belgium. And listen, the guy did not put any parentheses as how to pronounce it. So she went to the cinema with Marie, who agreed to loan her 19,000 Belgian francs. Afterwards, they went for a drink together. Dupanier Cassodat, I'm going to call her Marie. Marie then fell ill, and Becker offered to look after her. But under Becker's care, her symptoms soon grew worse, and she died. An anonymous letter was sent to the prosecutor's office, which prompted a report that ended up on the commissioner's desk, and Becker was arrested. She had apparently nursed a number of other elderly friends who suffered a similar fate. It seems that those who entrust themselves to your care have an undeviating tendency to die suddenly, the investigating magistrate declared. But they are old. Becker replied, "What would you have? Is it not that everyone dies so sooner or later?" "That is true," said the magistrate, "but also it is possible for the old to die before their time. I understand that you invariably served your patients tea, and justice demands that you inform me what you put into the tea." "Herbs," said Becker, "only herbs of the most beneficent kinds. Herbs that would have healed them if it was that they were to live, ma'am. Herbs. And she was just so, herbs. I don't know, in a Belgium accent. I don't know if it's similar to French, but a little different. So I'm not going to do an accent, guys. I usually love doing an accent, but I don't know. We're not today. String of Redrums. However, there was no direct evidence to support a charge of Redrum. Oh my gosh, I almost said it, y'all. And Becker was released. Instead of regarding this brush with the law as a warning, Becker continued working for rich elderly women whose mortality rate was suspiciously high. It was later discovered that if she did not acquire money by directly stealing from her victims, she got it by forging their wills or otherwise obtaining money by fraud. When she ran out of elderly friends, she turned to the customers of the boutique she had invested in. "Ma'am." She's like, "Listen, I done red-rummed all of my old friends. Now I need new victims. I need new victims, immediately. My money's running dry. The gigolos need me." Just crazy work. Victims would be invited into a back room of the shop to discuss the latest fashions, and she would offer them a cup of tea or a glass of wine. She would then accompany them home, where she took over as nurse with the same result as before. One such was Marie Louise Everett Crew. Why do they all have the name Marie? My God, was that a very similar name in Belgium in the early 1900s? Marie Louise died on the 11th of November, 1935. A relative noted to their astonishment that she had left her money to a young woman who was completely unknown to them. It turned out that the heir was a close friend of Marie Becker. A second anonymous letter then turned up at the prosecutor's office, accusing Becker of Redrum and the misappropriation of the inheritance. Although doctors ascribed the death to hepatic colic, which had triggered a heart attack, Becker remained under surveillance. More evidence accrued, and then Madame Guchner contacted the police. She said she had complained to Becker about her husband, saying, "I wish he were dead." Becker then replied, "If you really mean that, I can supply you with a powder that will leave no trace." She disposed of 10 to 12 old ladies this way, and even attended their funerals, where she was seen dressed in black and kneeling at the graveside in tears. After leaving the cemetery, she would scurry off to spend their money on young men. She needs a goddamn lobotomy, y'all, I swear. Pretty good. Very gingery. I don't really have any lemon, but it's pretty good. Probably won't buy it again, but but it's still good. Still good. Caught in the act. On the 30th of September, 1936, she went to the funeral of Madame Lang with Madame Weiss, it might be Weiss, and Madame Lamy. Lamy? I'm sorry, y'all, with these names, I'm sorry. Inviting them to her home afterwards. Madame Weiss died a few hours later. The police then asked Madame Lamy to invite Becker around to her house. When Becker arrived, she was arrested, and the police found a bottle of digitalis in her handbag. "I suffered from heart trouble," she explained, "and I had to take it. I did not want my lover to know." In small doses, digitalis is used to cure cardiac arrhythmia, but an overdose can kill, producing symptoms like those of acute indigestion. When doctors examined Madame Becker, they could find nothing wrong with her heart. As the judge later put it, "In spite of your heart trouble, you were known to go to dance halls and behave like a strong and flirtatious young woman. The druggist and chemist you name are dead, but the police have found no entries of your case in their registers." And here is a picture of Miss Marie Becker. Looks like she's wearing a fur coat and probably like some type of a velvet hat or velvet bow. And she old, and she ain't even all that. Like, look at her. Look at this. It says, when the police visited Becker and searched her home, they found clothing, jewelry, and other items belonging to her victims, along with a bag Madame Weiss had used to keep 40,000 Belgian francs in. Meanwhile, a panel of experts had to study the effects of digitalis to prove it was a credible murder weapon. Found guilty of Redrum. Becker spent 17 months in prison while the bodies of her victims were exhumed. Traces of digitalis were found in all of them. The indictment was 12,000 words long and took the court clerk 3 hours to read out. In the packed courtroom, Becker was faced with 10 lawyers, 1,800 items of evidence, and 294 witnesses, every one of whose statements she contested. "Everyone in the case is lying except you?" asked the judge. "Yes," she replied, nodding vigorously. Throughout, she maintained the pose of an innocent woman who had been wronged by these accusations. She kept asking the judge to hurry, as she had other matters to attend to, but his response was that she had yet to clear herself. She's like, "Please hurry, please. My lover is waiting for me." Ma'am, you're not going nowhere. One explanation of Becker's middle-aged Redrum spree is that she was trying to recapture her lost youth. It was reported that she appeared in court made up gaudily and dressed like a 16-year-old flapper. A dozen former teenage lovers testified that she had lavished money and presents on them, and she was forced to admit that this left her always in need of money. No shit, ma'am. Like, she literally was doing this to spend money on men. Not because she wanted it for her own self. It was, these men. Mental illness is real. Let's see. In her defense, she said, "As for my going out with young people, my theory has always been that one is as young as one thinks oneself to be. As for what little money I spent on my friends from time to time, well, somehow, Providence always saw to it that I was well cared for in worldly things. I seldom worried." Distraught as Becker had seemed at the funerals of her victims, in the dock she eventually gloated over her crimes. She said one victim, Madame Lambert, looked like an angel choked with sauerkraut, while she saw Madame Dupanier Castodot dying beautifully, lying flat on her back. Is she okay? This lady was not okay. Marie Alexandrine Becker was found guilty of 11 Redrums and sentenced to death. However, in Belgium, the death sentence is automatically commuted to life imprisonment. She died in jail in 1942, aged 62. This lady was really a piece of work. But again, y'all, look at her. Look at this. Look at this. This is how she was dressing. And I mean, if you know anything about how a flapper girl dressed back in, the 1920s and 30s. Again, she started red rumming when she was 55. 55. That is, middle age, as one would put it, nowadays in 2025. We don't want to see a 55-year-old woman dressed like a video vixen. You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just one of those. I'm not saying that she couldn't have. Sorry, y'all. I'm meddling with my hair today. But yeah, this was Marie. I don't think I've ever heard of this particular SK, but she's the person that I've ever read about that was honestly doing this because she was wanting to spend money on men. Most of the time they're doing it because they're like either wanting to run away with a lover or they just want the money for themselves. So really interesting one. And so that was it for Marie Becker. We will come back and read again about Amelia Dyer. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this brief story about Marie Becker. And do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!